far from the dark spires of Typhris, and farther still from the exemplary cities of Palagos. Off the eastern coast of Nival lies an archipelago known as Carver's Clutch, a vast network spotting the Tropal Sea, islands of rock and coral, cliff and cove, circled by a rich sky and filled with many things both known and unknown. On a number of these islands dwell the Arkai tribes. Strong and impulsive, the Arkai are more at home swimming in the sea or climbing a cliff than being stuck within a closed city. They are little understood by outsiders, but then again, they have never expressed want to be. On the island of Horns, among the Vai'cairn tribe, lived a particular Arkai named Vai'cairn Gouzhi. He had seen 19 years pass, but he was not recognized as an adult. Not yet. Vai'cairn awoke under a leaning palm tree. The sounds of gulls singing over the coastline could be heard. He stood and stretched, using his long spear to help work out the cramps of sleep from his long, toned limbs. He squinted at the rays of morning light coming through the brush ahead and allowed the dream remnants to wash from his mind. "'Tis the third day," he thought. "Maybe that is the beach that Veneth had advised me to seek out. Either way, I hope a vision was accurate. Many shamans in our tribe, and I had to get guidance from the crazy one." He took a moment to drink from his water skin. He sliced open a sunfruit with his chakram. Its blade of sharpened whalebone and shark teeth gave him easy access to the tender flesh of the small melon. When he'd finished eating, he picked up his armor, which he had rested upon while he slept. It was not the clanking mail of the western kingdoms, but rather a collection of pieces fashioned from the thick hides of sharks and scaly sea beasts. Within a few moments he set out. He easily climbed down a low ridge onto a beach of sand and rock. A curving coastline stretched out around him on both sides. "Well, this is probably the beach, though Veneth didn't say which way to take." Vai'cairn surveyed the area. He noticed dark storm clouds gathering in the southern horizon, so he decided to travel northward. For nearly an hour he walked, upon sandy shore of varying widths, with the slinking tide to his left, and to his right a rock-laden ridge with greenery creeping its backside. He passed a stony outcropping that stowed a gleaming cove, and as he stood to view the sight, he heard movement close by. He turned to look, and from outshadowed rocks emerged a monstrous crab, colored like the depths of the ocean and bearing serrated pincers. He instantly recognized it. A fell-tide crab, they were called. Known to be voracious scavengers capable of crushing a man to death. Vai'cairn had never encountered a live one before, but he knew he had to act carefully. Vai'cairn beats the fell-tide crab on initiative. He's going to go first. Vai'cairn readies recuperating strike and holds his long spear out in front of him, waiting to see if the crab will foolishly run upon it. It does so. It comes from out behind the rocks that it was huddled behind and pretty much charges straight up to Vai'cairn with its claws wide open. First of all, his long spear has reach, so this is going to trigger his recuperating strike at 10 feet away, 2 squares away. Vai'cairn makes an attack roll of 23, which is a hit. He deals 12 damage, and he is invigorated by this strike. He gains 2 temporary hit points. The crab continues its charge. When it arrives adjacent to Vai'cairn, this triggers his threatening point feat, which allows him to make a basic attack because the crab is basically charging itself upon his spear point. Vai'cairn makes an attack of, again, 23, and again rolls 12 damage. He has bloodied the fell-tide crab. The tip of his long spear stabs from between the plates, and he sees blood begin to flow out from the crab's body. The crab finally gets to make its charge attack roll, It rolls a 27, which is a hit. It deals 7 damage and grabs Vai'cairn in its serrated pincers. He can already feel that this is going to be a painful position to be in. He firmly grips his long spear and attempts to make a pressing strike, attempting to essentially stab the fell-tide crab and push it away from himself. Unfortunately, he rolls a natural 1, just basically fumbles with his long spear and does not hit at all. He's not sure if escaping this is going to be a good idea, but he tries. He makes an athletics check to escape as a move action. He rolls a 15, and that would be a fail. He barely fails, actually, and he notices that the serrations on the crab's claws hurt, like it would hurt to rip free from them. The fell-tide crab makes a claw attack. He's basically squeezing Vai'cairn. He makes an attack of 25, which is a hit. It only deals 4 damage. Vai'cairn attacks with Resurgent Strike, basically attempting to revitalize himself in a glorious moment of combat. He lets out a cry and attempts to make an attack at this awkward angle, and he does not hit. Him and the crab kind of struggle around for a couple turns. They can't really hit each other. They're basically, Vai'cairn's trying to stab this thing and keep the pinchers from closing in on him, and the crab at the same time is trying to defend itself while attack as well, and it's not really working out so well. Finally, the crab makes an attack roll of 20. He hits and deals 11 damage. Vai'cairn is bloodied, and he notices his arm and his side start to really hurt, and he's starting to bleed some. Vai'cairn finally hits with his pressing attack with a 24. He deals 6 damage and pushes the crab back 1 square with the thrusting tip of his long spear. As he is ripped free, he takes 1 point of damage. He then moves to the rocks to climb because he realizes that this fight is quickly getting dangerous and he wants to have the advantage. He makes an athletics check to climb as a move action. He makes a athletics check of 19. That is a success. He climbs pretty well, and he is pretty quick, being an Archai. He climbs 15 feet up. He uses his Archai athlete racial power to move 2 more squares. He uses his minor action to draw his chakram. The fell-tide crab is wounded, and technically can't see Vai'cairn. They can't really see each other because of the rocky ridge there. The crab doesn't really have too much of an intellect for tactics, so it's going to go ahead and try to follow its bloodied prey. It moves over to the rocks, tries to climb. It makes a 13 athletics check. That's a fail. It'll substitute its standard action for another move action. To retry that, it makes a 15, so it just gets it. It succeeds and climbs 10 feet up the rocks. So the crab and Vai'cairn can just barely see each other. It can just see like maybe the eyes and the top of Vai'cairn's head. Vai'cairn sees that there's a lot of rock cover, plus the crab has that tough shell, so it's going to take a lucky shot to actually hit this thing. He decides it's going to be a good idea to try to push a large rock onto the crab from above it. So he's going to make a strength check. He presses all his might against this rock. He makes a strength check of 10, which is a fail. He currently has 1 action point. He's going to spend his action point, and he's going to retry that. Again, he makes a strength check. He gets a 21. That is a success. The heavy rock comes crashing down. The attack against the crab is a 6, so it actually misses. So the crab still needs to make an athletics check, otherwise or fall, because it still has to try to... It still is getting kind of knocked out of the way. The crab makes an athletics check of 16. That is a success. The crab gets knocked out of the way, but it still manages to keep its grip. Vai'cairn will use his move action. He is going to jump over the rocks and the rubble here. With his athletics check, he automatically succeeds and basically gets a good distance away from the edge there.